The ATP season enters its final stretch, and with it comes one of the most decisive weeks of the year, the Paris Masters 1000. The event will not only determine the final tickets for the ATP Finals in Turin, but could also redefine the balance of power at the very top of men's tennis. After a dominant performance in Vienna, Jannik Sinner has turned the race for World No.1 into a dramatic showdown in Paris. His victory in the Austrian capital wasn't just another title, it was a statement of intent. The Italian has displayed extraordinary consistency and endurance in the final months of the season, adding yet another milestone to an already historic campaign. By conquering Vienna, Sinner collected 500 crucial points, bringing his total to 10,500, just 840 behind Carlos Alcaraz, who leads the ATP rankings with 11,340. For the first time since midsummer, the #1 spot is within reach. The numbers tell the story of two young stars pushing each other to historic heights. Carlos Alcaraz, at just 22, has now spent 44 weeks as the world's best player, surpassing Gustavo Kuerten's 43 and climbing to 14th on the all-time list for weeks at #1. Ahead of him stand names such as Jim Courier with 58 and, notably, Sinner himself, who has held the top spot for 65 weeks over 2 seasons. What once seemed like a wide gap between them has narrowed dramatically as the calendar approaches its final Masters event. Sinner's resurgence coincides with a period of relative inactivity from Alcaraz, who skipped Vienna and Basel to recover physically ahead of Paris and Turin. The decision was strategic. The Spaniard wanted to arrive fresh for the season's final push. Yet it also allowed his Italian rival to gain both momentum and confidence. Sinner's form indoors has been almost immaculate. Vienna marked his 21st consecutive victory on indoor hard courts, a streak that now makes him the man to beat under the roof. As Paris approaches, the equation is simple but tense. If Sinner wins the Masters 1000 title and Alcaraz fails to reach the semifinals, the Italian will ascend to World #1. If Alcaraz reaches the semifinals, he will retain the position regardless of Sinner's result. Should the Spaniard make the final, the mathematics become decisive. He would secure enough points to guarantee finishing the year on top, as his points to defend in Turin are minimal compared to Sinner's. Behind this headline duel, the rest of the top 10 continues to shift in fascinating ways. Alexander Zverev, runner-up in Vienna, remains solidly in third place with 6,160 points, but faces major pressure this week as he must defend the 1,000 points earned from his Paris title in 2024. Right behind him stands Taylor Fritz in fourth with 4,685, closely followed by Novak Djokovic, still fifth with 4,580 despite skipping Paris. Australian Alex de Minaur sits sixth on 3,935, ahead of American Ben Shelton with 3,820, and Italy's Lorenzo Musetti with 3,685. Completing the top 10 are Casper Ruud with 3,235 and Felix Auger-Aliassime with 3,195, both returning to form after mid-season struggles. Beyond the dominance of Alcaraz and Sinner, Spain celebrated another major milestone this week. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina achieved a career-high ranking of number 15 following his impressive run to the Basel final, the first top 15 breakthrough of his career. Though once again denied a title, his consistency throughout the season has transformed him from a mercurial talent into a dependable tour competitor. His 2,585 points place him ahead of several veterans and rising stars alike, signaling the best phase of his professional journey. Equally remarkable has been the rise of João Fonseca, the 19-year-old Brazilian sensation. By capturing the Basel crown, he leapt 18 spots to world number 28, entering the top 30 for the first time. His maturity, shot selection, and calm under pressure have drawn comparisons with some of the sport's greatest prodigies, positioning him as one of the brightest hopes of the next generation behind Alcaraz and Sinner. This dynamic reshuffling of the ATP hierarchy reflects a broader transition era in men's tennis. With the gradual fade of longtime icons like Rafael Nadal and the selective scheduling of Djokovic, a new order has emerged, one defined by speed, balance, and adaptability. The shared dominance of Sinner and Alcaraz has not only created a rivalry, but also energized the entire tour, inspiring players like Zverev, Fritz, and Shelton to chase them more aggressively in the final stretch of the year. The upcoming Paris Masters now stands as the perfect stage for a confrontation that could define this new era. Played indoors at the Accor Arena, the tournament traditionally rewards precision, stamina, and the ability to perform under pressure. Both Sinner and Alcaraz have thrived in such conditions, though their methods differ. Alcaraz relies on explosive power and creative improvisation. Sinner builds his dominance through precision, rhythm, and relentless consistency. Their contrast has become one of tennis's most captivating storylines. For both men, Paris represents more than ranking points. It's a battle for legacy and for psychological advantage before Turin. On paper, Alcaraz still holds the edge. But the momentum, that invisible force that shapes champions, clearly favors Sinner. The anticipation surrounding the Paris Masters 1000 has rarely been higher. As the world's best players converge on the French capital, this final Masters event of the season carries implications that stretch far beyond a single week of competition. The tournament will not only crown one last major champion before Turin, but could also reshape the ATP hierarchy heading into 2026. Carlos Alcaraz arrives in Paris as the current world #1, but his position has never been more fragile. His decision to skip Vienna and Basel has sparked debate throughout the tennis world. It was a calculated risk, prioritizing rest and recovery over the possibility of additional ranking points. The reasoning is understandable. Since Wimbledon, the Spaniard's schedule has been relentless, pushing his physical and mental endurance to the limit. His team's goal is clear: to ensure he peaks again for Paris and the Nitto ATP Finals. Still, the move has opened the door for Jannik Sinner, whose relentless momentum and recent triumphs have dramatically narrowed the gap at the top. For Alcaraz, the challenge in Paris is twofold. First, to quickly regain match rhythm after a short break, and second, to handle the mounting psychological pressure of defending his throne. In the past 2 seasons, Alcaraz has proven capable of extraordinary resilience under pressure. Yet the conditions in Paris, indoor hard courts that favor flat hitters and early ball strikers, demand sharp adjustments from players more accustomed to slower, high-bounce outdoor surfaces. This is precisely where Sinner's technical precision gives him a distinct edge. The Italian's ability to attack early, sustain tempo through long rallies, and minimize unforced errors has made him the most effective indoor player of the year. His confidence is peaking at exactly the right time. The Vienna title run, which included victories over multiple top 10 opponents, demonstrated not only his form but his evolution as a competitor. Gone are the moments of hesitation that once marked his game. Now, he dictates the rhythm, controls the tempo, and varies pace and direction with surgical accuracy. His serve and return, once considered secondary weapons, have become central to his dominance, particularly under pressure. For Sinner, the equation in Paris is as clear as it is difficult: win the title and hope Alcaraz falters early. It's a simple formula, but the stakes couldn't be higher. The broader ATP landscape, meanwhile, remains as volatile as ever. Alexander Zverev, fully healthy after past injuries, has rebuilt his ranking through consistency and deep tournament runs. His performance in Vienna reaffirmed his position as one of the tour's most complete players, but defending his 2024 Paris Masters title adds an extra layer of tension. A slip-up here could cost him valuable ground to Taylor Fritz, who continues to chase from just behind. For Zverev, staying inside the top 3 would mark a fitting conclusion to a season defined by recovery and redemption. Fritz, on the other hand, embodies the resurgence of American tennis at the elite level. His baseline precision and newfound steadiness have kept him firmly within the top 5, while compatriot Ben Shelton has electrified the circuit with raw athleticism and fearless shot-making. Both Americans have either qualified or are close to qualifying for Turin, marking the first time since the mid-2000s that 2 U.S. players could appear among the final 8. Behind them, Novak Djokovic's season remains something of an enigma. Despite limited appearances, the Serbian's efficiency at major events has kept him comfortably within the top 5. His absence from Paris underscores a shift in focus toward longevity and the year-end finals, where he has historically dominated. Even in partial participation, his presence looms large over the sport, a reminder of the lasting influence of a generation that still defines excellence. Further down the rankings, the variety of styles shaping this new ATP era becomes increasingly evident. Alex de Minaur's relentless coverage of the court has evolved from pure defense into strategic aggression. Lorenzo Musetti's artistry and flair have returned him to form, while Casper Ruud's mental endurance continues to anchor him among the elite, despite a turbulent season. Felix Auger-Aliassime, revitalized after early setbacks, has rediscovered his confidence. His serve once again a major weapon on faster indoor surfaces. Meanwhile, new faces continue to break through. The meteoric rise of João Fonseca, the 19-year-old Brazilian sensation who captured Basel, has given tennis a fresh prodigy to rally around. Analysts have praised his poise, tactical intelligence, and adaptability across surfaces, comparing his maturity to that of Alcaraz and Sinner at similar stages. His climb into the top 30 is not just a milestone, but a statement. The next wave is already here. The Spanish tennis landscape, long dominated by clay court specialists, is also evolving. The rise of Alejandro Davidovich Fokina into the top 15 feels symbolic, a testament to adaptability in a faster, more power-oriented era. Once known for volatility, Davidovich now balances aggression with patience, making him competitive across all surfaces. His rise continues Spain's proud tradition while signaling a shift toward modern versatility. With rankings so tightly contested, Paris becomes a high-stakes battleground for those chasing the final tickets to Turin. 4 of the 8 ATP final spots are already locked: Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, and Zverev. The remaining 4 will be decided in Paris among Fritz, Shelton, de Minaur, and Musetti, though Auger-Aliassime, Ruud, and even Jack Draper remain within mathematical reach depending on early round outcomes. Each round, each service game, now carries amplified weight. 4 players on the edge, a single match could mean the difference between the prestige of Turin or watching from home. What makes this stretch uniquely compelling is how personal narratives intertwine with historical context, redemption arcs, generational shifts, and the fight for legacy converging in one final push. As the Paris Masters begins, every serve and rally carries more than just points. It carries meaning. As the countdown to the Paris Masters intensifies, both the players and the ATP itself recognize how much this tournament means, not only for rankings, but for the broader narrative shaping the sport. For Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, what's at stake transcends numbers on a leaderboard. Their rivalry represents 2 contrasting philosophies, 2 distinct ways of defining greatness in modern tennis. Each man has traveled a different path. Each embodies a different temperament, a different rhythm. But now, they meet at the same intersection of ambition and destiny. For Alcaraz, the 2025 season, while statistically less dominant than his record-breaking 2024, has reaffirmed his extraordinary ability to maintain excellence under constant scrutiny. Titles in Indian Wells, Madrid, and the US Open established him as the early leader of the year, and his adaptability across all surfaces remains unmatched. What separates Alcaraz from his peers is his versatility, a blend of aggression and improvisation that makes him unpredictable, thrilling, and utterly dangerous. His instinct for bold shot-making under pressure recalls the great champions of the past, but that same explosive style demands a level of mental and physical endurance that can sometimes waver over a long, grinding season. Sinner's journey, by contrast, has been one of calculation and quiet refinement. His rise has not come from spectacle but from evolution. Where Alcaraz plays like jazz, free-flowing, instinctive, and spontaneous, Sinner plays like architecture, structured, balanced, and precise. He builds his points as if constructing something enduring, every shot reinforcing the foundation of control. The Italian's transformation from promising talent to commanding presence has been gradual but deliberate. His consistency, his clarity under pressure, and his almost mechanical rhythm have turned him into the embodiment of calm aggression. Their rivalry, still young compared to the epic duels of Federer-Nadal or Djokovic-Murray, already defines this new chapter of men's tennis. In just over 2 years, they've met more than a dozen times, each encounter revealing new layers of contrast. Their matches are not just battles of power and technique but philosophical duels. Emotion versus logic, instinct versus discipline, explosion versus precision. For the tennis world, Paris feels like the next great chapter in this ongoing saga. The math is simple, but the symbolism is massive. If Sinner surpasses Alcaraz, it will mark not just a personal achievement, but a symbolic turning point, the moment when control overtakes chaos, and a new king is crowned. If Alcaraz defends his #1 position, it will reinforce the idea that raw brilliance and fearlessness can still outshine structure and restraint. Beyond these two, the wider ATP field reflects a sport in full transition. Alexander Zverev's return to elite form has bridged the gap between the old guard and the new wave. Once sidelined by injury, he has rebuilt his game with resilience and maturity, capturing titles in Hamburg and Shanghai while reminding everyone of the power and precision that once made him a Grand Slam finalist. His story represents the middle ground, where experience meets adaptation in an era increasingly dominated by youth. Meanwhile, the American resurgence continues to reshape the sport's commercial and competitive landscape. Taylor Fritz's patient evolution and Ben Shelton's raw explosiveness have restored U.S. tennis to relevance. Fritz, once criticized for predictability, has become a master of composure and baseline balance. Shelton, with his left-handed serve and fearless attack, represents the future. Instinctive, athletic, and unafraid of the spotlight. For the first time in nearly 20 years, two Americans sit firmly inside the top 10, reigniting hopes of a Grand Slam breakthrough in 2026. Across Europe, the diversity of styles and personalities continues to flourish. Alex de Minaur's tireless speed has transformed him from a counterpuncher into a strategist. Lorenzo Musetti's artistry still draws gasps with every one-handed backhand, while Casper Ruud's quiet endurance reminds fans that steady precision can still conquer chaos. Felix Auger-Aliassime, reborn after a turbulent start to the season, is once again a threat indoors, his serve firing like a cannon under the lights. Then there are the newcomers, the ones reshaping the future even before it arrives. João Fonseca, the 19-year-old Brazilian revelation, has captivated fans with his maturity and tactical intelligence. His Basel title run wasn't luck, it was the arrival of another serious contender for the next decade. His adaptability and calm under pressure echo the early years of both Alcaraz and Sinner, suggesting the coming era will be deeper and more competitive than ever before. Spain, meanwhile, remains a powerhouse in transition. Alejandro Davidovich Fokina's rise into the top 15 represents a modern evolution of Spanish tennis, no longer defined only by clay, but by versatility. His improved shot selection and emotional balance have transformed him from an unpredictable talent into a consistent threat across all surfaces. Behind him, veterans like Bautista Agut and Pedro Martinez continue to provide depth, ensuring Spain's influence remains strong even as the torch passes to a new generation. As the Paris Masters unfolds, every storyline converges. Every rally feels like a metaphor for something larger. For the veterans, it's about preservation. For the newcomers, validation. For Alcaraz and Sinner, it's about legacy, the right to shape the narrative of the sport itself. The battle for Turin qualification adds another layer of intensity. Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, and Zverev are mathematically secure. Behind them, the margin separating Fritz, Shelton, de Minaur, and Musetti from challengers like Auger-Aliassime, Ruud, and Draper is razor-thin. A single early round loss could shift the entire equation. Every point earned in Paris carries the weight of a season. And beyond it all, a larger truth hovers, the feeling that the sport stands at a turning point. The gradual fading of the legends, the rise of new masters, the expanding global reach. Tennis has entered an era defined by balance and uncertainty. Where once there were 3 names, now there are 10. And yet, the gravitational pull remains strongest around 2. Alcaraz and Sinner, the twin architects of the future. As the lights dim in Bercy and the cameras focus on the next serve, the air will thicken with anticipation. For the fans, for the players, for the sport itself, Paris represents more than another tournament. It is the threshold of a new era, one defined not by nostalgia for what was, but by the brilliance of what's coming. When the final ball is struck, one truth will remain. The world of tennis is no longer waiting for its future. It's already here, written in the precision of Sinner, the fire of Alcaraz, and the echo of a rivalry that could define the next decade.